Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
And I'm Bob. How's it going?
Bob and I are here today to talk about the 2025 Atomic Bent Chetler 120. Awesome ski. It's very big.
Yeah, and I think that we did a
Review
nice...
done.
Yeah, finished. But I do think we kind of either lucked out or strategized properly to actually get on this thing in its intended conditions and terrain.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a
100%.
That's a win for us too.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't happen every year.
No, testing powder skis is difficult unless you have good access.
Yep, it can be tough. If you remember, if you follow our channel, hopefully you saw this video. My first experience on them was way back in early January out in Utah with Atomic. We were both skiing Monument Ranch as well as Powder Mountain. That was awesome. A lot of the skiing footage that we'll put in this video is going to be similar to what you saw in that video.
Yeah.
But there's some different stuff too.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about the ideal place to test some new skis.
With the ideal people as well.
Yeah, when you happen to be skiing with Chris Bentchetler himself and you get to listen to Chris Bentchetler talk about his ski and why it exists and the things that he does. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
You didn't tell him he was wrong about any of his ski design points or anything like that?
Nope. No, I didn't feel I had it in me.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
He can do whatever he wants. So yeah, this is kind of, I don't know if it's the signature ski anymore of the Bent collection.
I mean, from like a use case standpoint, that's a tough argument.
Right.
You know, you got to look more squarely at the 100 and maybe the 110 in terms of it being more rockered and powder oriented.
Yeah. I don't know. Doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't.
I'm just kind of speculating.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But anyways, we can get right into it. Bob is standing next to the 2025 ski. I'm standing next to the 2024 ski. And I don't think we've talked at all about this, but I would say that they are more similar than they are different.
Yeah.
25 to 24. The changes to the Bent 100 felt like it set it apart from the previous skis slightly more than this.
Yeah, but I think that, again, the use case comes into play. Like, you're not feeling as big of a difference in
soft snow.
In soft snow.
Yeah.
Whereas that 100 has more capabilities and applications, and you're going to be able to discern the differences more.
No, you're totally right. And that's a good reminder. And we've talked about this plenty of times before. But yeah, you feel fewer differences in a ski when you're skiing it in really deep snow.
Yeah.
There are other characteristics that you feel more in soft snow than you do on firm snow. But powder skis are funny because, like, generally when you're skiing powder, you're having a really good time.
Right.
And you're not like, well, this ski doesn't do this very well, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you can't feel the minutia as much.
Yeah. And then it's a little silly on firm snow.
Sure.
What's really the point there? So that's all I'll say for now. Bob, do you want to take us through changes to construction?
Yeah. More addition by balance here, not really subtraction.
Yeah.
So the main points here are more wood. So it's a full poplar wood core. It's always been a full poplar wood core. What they're doing is they're adding more wood to the ski. They're adding an ash binding insert underfoot, and they're removing the carbon backbone, the carbon stringers, which for me personally was kind of a downgrade in my opinion, like on paper.
On paper, sure.
Because like I always skied, I skied an Atomic automatic 102 for forever before the carbon backbone was invented basically, and then when they put it into like the Backland series of skis, I really like how that made the ski pop and energize.
Well, and in previous years, and probably still true, you felt the difference between Bent 110 and Bent 120. And kind of the thing that we could point to is, well, the 120 has this carbon.
Right.
So
So that's, that's kind of the big difference there is the removal of carbon, the addition of more poplar wood, less fiberglass. So they're really just thickening that wood core by the same amount that the fiberglass would have taken up. And it just gives it a different feel, a little bit more stable, a little bit more sturdy. Similar things that we said about the Bent 100 move from previous years to a 2025. This feels a lot more like that.
Yeah.
And then that ash binding insert just adds more strength underfoot and just gives the ski a little bit stronger of a character.
And more environmentally friendly manufacturing.
Right. So more wood, less fiberglass equals more eco-friendly.
Equals more good.
Yep.
For the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that like Atomic is kind of hanging their hat on, and something that it was obvious that Chris was proud of.
Yes.
Because when talking about the ski with him, he always started with that.
Yep.
When we were talking about why it changed and why it's different, the purpose was largely we're going to make this manufacturing process more environmentally friendly.
And we can kind of blur this discussion into the shape and profile, but the Horizon Tech is different too.
Yep.
So now they have a Horizon Tech 3D, and I wanted to ask you this without doing any research on my own, but did they call it Horizon 3D because now there's 3 different Horizon Tech applications, or are they calling this 3D because it has more dimensions?
I have no idea. I don't recall that coming up in conversation.
Fair enough. That was one thing I was wondering. When you look at the catalog now, they have 3 different Horizon Techs. So there's a Maverick Horizon Tech, there's a Bent Horizon Tech, and a Backland.
Sure.
And they each are different applications of this technology. So I could have gone both ways. Either there's 3 different types, or this is specific to the Bent 120 style.
I wish I could answer that question for you, Bob, but I can't.
I knew I'd stump you with that one.
But the tip is not different than the Maverick 105 tip, correct?
It is. The Maverick, the wood goes all the way to the end. So this is cut down a little bit shorter. So that's the Bent style. All Mavericks, the 105 and the 115, the new ones, that wood core goes all the way to the end, and this one's a little shorter.
Fair enough.
So
you learn something new every day.
I know, right? But yeah, that is the new style. It's brought down a little bit further into the ski, and when you can kind of look at that one compared to it,
longer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a longer kind of beveling of the shape, and this goes for both tips and tails in these skis. So slightly different application of Horizon Tech here, and it just again goes to make this ski feel a little bit more sturdy overall.
Yep.
So more wood.
Yep, more wood. Do you want to play around with flex and weight?
Yeah.
Before we get into shape, here I'll throw, and we got the same length here, I believe.
Yeah, 192, the proper length.
Oof, not for me. I'm a 184 skier. Oh, I believe it was
1842. I saw.
Yeah, 18. We'll call it 1840. Really wants us to say 1830. We'll say 1830.
Okay. And then new one here, 2014.
Yeah.
So
a little bit heavier.
A little bit heavier.
I don't notice a huge difference in the flex, like hand flexing.
Yeah, no, I didn't notice much either. Kind of in our experimentations.
Yeah, it kind of came through like skiing them, I think, but that one might be a little rounder in the shovel.
I think this one feels like it has a softer tail.
Yeah, no, this one's stiffer in the shovel too.
Yeah,
for sure. So yeah, slightly heavier, slightly stiffer.
Yeah. They like to fall over too.
Yeah, not very flat tails. And then, do you want to move on to shape? Because that's a really quick conversation.
Yeah, we can both do this, and we can both say the exact same thing about the shape.
It's the same.
Yep.
So yeah, the shape really is the same. Dimensions are the same, turn radius is the same, rocker camber profile looks the same to me. It's stated to be the same. I think the couple important things to point out about the shape of this ski, and this will come up in performance too, and I'm really intrigued to get your take on these skis because of these reasons. So there are equal amounts of tip and tail rocker, which is rare for a powder ski.
Yeah.
Typically, you get longer tip rocker than tail rocker. So this is like truly symmetrical rocker profile. It is not symmetrical side cut. The tip is wider than the tail, but it is I should be holding the new one. It is symmetrical rocker. Now, also, Atomic states that 60% of the ski is rocker. So basically 30% tip rocker, 40% camber, 30% tail rocker. You and I were kind of hemming and hawing about it. Kind of feels that way if you decamber it, but there's a ton of rocker.
Yeah.
We could measure if we wanted to get really techie, but basically the gist of it is there's more rocker than camber in this ski. So it's symmetrical, and there's a lot of it, and the mount point is pretty far forward. So this is something that if you watch that video from Utah, I chatted with Chris Bentchetler on the chairlift about these skis, and we talked at length about mount point. We also talked a lot about it off camera, probably way more than we did on camera. The factory recommended line is only 3 centimeters back from dead true center. And here, you can take this one back. There is 6 centimeters of recommended mount points on this ski. So factory recommended right there, that's -3. You can go +1, +2, or +3. Tricky math, Bob. What's +3?
Center?
True center. Yeah.
Nailed it.
You got it. So there aren't too many powder skis in the world with a manufacturer line for mount point that is dead true center.
Yeah.
There is also a -3 line, of course, because we said there was 6 centimeters of range. So -3 is much, much more traditional as a mount point. And I would venture a guess that a lot of skiers may end up going into the minus. And what was really interesting is Chris himself was speculating about going into the minus on this new ski, where he always skied that one on factory recommended, and I can understand why.
Yeah, and I feel like we've been advising that throughout the years of this 120, where people are more
110
directional
too, for
skiers,
sure.
yeah, that are looking, that either tried it at the factory line and said, whoa, like this isn't me, or they just kind of were looking for looking for advice, and it was kind of easy to be like, well, if you're used to more directional skis, you might want to go -3.
Yeah, or -1 or -2, or there's some nice customization there, which is fairly synonymous with bent skis.
Yep.
Because that bent 100 and the 90, they've got like 10 centimeters of range. So that's all I've got to say about shape. You had a couple great days on this ski, only one of which is on camera. Maybe you had more than a couple. I don't remember. I'm not you.
It was at least 2.
Yeah.
At least 2 good days
and
here.
Both were very snowy.
Yeah.
So I rarely see you ski backwards, correct?
Yeah, I don't ski backwards. If I end up backwards, it's either by accident or I'm experimenting with 180s and I quickly about face.
I will also add that I think I saw you do more 180s last season than I've ever seen you do before in the previous 8 seasons.
Just trying to get a little more creative, I guess.
I'm here for it. So anyways, you are a directional skier through and through. What is your take on this relatively symmetrical, very freestyle influenced powder ski?
I had a wonderful time on it.
Oh,
so
lovely.
That was my main takeaway, and I think that this 192 had a lot to do with it. I've also been on the 184. During our ski test, which was the 3rd day of our test, so it had snowed the 2 days prior and kept snowing through, so it was a nice good base, pretty wind blown. and I had gotten the 184 because some other large tester had the
Oh, sure.
192,
Yep.
and took a run and went right back to see if it was returned, and it was.
Yep.
And so I was actually able to do a pretty good back-to-back comparison of 184 versus 192.
Yep.
And on the 184, it's if you are on the factory line and you're my size, there's just not enough tip.
Yeah.
So this longer length just gives you that little extra bit. The day that we have footage for me was, I don't know if you remember, very light, dry snow.
Oh, I remember. It was a great day.
It was a great day.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of skis. I think we had the Corvus.
We had
I think
a Corvus.
we had
a QST X.
a Ripstick 108.
We had a Ripstick 108.
Yep. And
Maybe something else too, but I can't remember.
but I grabbed this first.
Yep. You did.
And was like kind of a little bit nervous that I was going too wide,
Yep.
and not the case. I was shocked at how mobile they were.
Yep.
So that's kind of a benefit of having that more central mount point, is that it's just incredibly easy to get sideways. So a day like that was really fun because you could experiment with those different shape and style of turns. Ski test day, I was more in the woods.
Yep.
And so that kind of forced you to make those turns. But I found that this ski had like automatic power steering. Like
Yeah,
it
it really
follows
does.
your eyes.
Yeah.
Like you just look where you want to go and the ski just goes right with it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So there's other things in this range, like a Rossignol Black Ops 118. Is it a Sender 118 now? Should I say Sender 118?
You should say sender free 118.
Okay. So something like that, or like a Vocal Revolt 121,
Sure.
that are great floaters, but they require a considerable amount more muscle.
Yep.
Whereas this just requires like the briefest of thoughts, and then it's gone.
So do you remember what you skied after this?
I believe it was the Ripstick.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you remember feeling any differences?
Yeah, I really liked the Ripstick and how I was able to sit back
Sure.
a little bit more.
Sure.
You know, like with the flatter tail and just with more shovel, it feels better from a directional standpoint.
For someone with you,
Yeah.
like, with your experience
Yeah.
and your own like tendencies and
Yeah.
habits.
Like I just felt like I was a little too upright on this ski,
Interesting.
that I couldn't. But that was fun because when you're center balanced, you can swivel a lot easier.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and that's kind of the idea behind this ski.
Right.
Is the pivoting
Yeah.
and like the butter ability and all that stuff. And that's all. Those are all things that come from having a more
Yeah.
balanced, centered stance.
And like I'm not a natural slash turner.
Sure.
Like I have to
Yeah.
focus, think,
Yeah.
coordinate, balance, and then I can do a slash turn.
Yeah.
Whereas like you and Matt just seem to have that.
just-
That's just a
It's built into
yeah.
our.
It's a muscle memory. Whereas
Yeah.
for me, I have to fight. I have to fight to do it.
Yeah.
But the kind of the weight of this and the amount of rocker in the tail especially
Yeah.
made it that much easier.
So these were two, but I think it's also safe to say that this is noticeably stiffer than the Bent 110. I recall you having some sort of substantial issues with the Bent 110.
Yeah.
Because you're big.
Yep.
And you're centered and there's not much tip and you kind of push right through it.
Yep.
Sounds like this worked much better.
It did, and like the funny thing about the 110, and we kind of had this conversation earlier about the mount point where I would move that 110 back and back and back, expecting to feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
But what was happening was I was moving my center of mass too far back from the center of camber.
Yeah.
And so it didn't really improve the overall characteristics of the ski.
Yep.
And I didn't move the binding on this,
Right.
pretty much for that reason.
Right, which I think says a lot.
Yeah.
About the differences between that ski and this ski, and I also think it's cool that a skier who this ski is not particularly designed for can get on it and have a really good time.
Yeah. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
Just extremely natural feeling, so easy to turn.
Should we talk about how I feel on it?
Yeah, you won, even though I was on it in some good snow, like you definitely won
Yeah.
the contest.
you've probably been watching the footage of me skiing it already, because there's limited footage of Bob, and we like to keep you entertained. So all the point of view footage in this video is me skiing it. And Bob, it's basically made for me.
For Utah.
Yeah.
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 Sure.
Yeah. It's not made for me, because it's made for Chris Bentchetler.
Right.
But I definitely, I mean, like, for me, it's a dream.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard for me to think of a powder ski that I like skiing more than this, because I like being pretty center mounted
Yep.
on anything, especially if it's a twin tip. You know, obviously if I'm skiing like a Redster X9S to keep it in the atomic family, I'm not center mounting it, but I like being in the middle of a ski. I like being able to ski switch. I like being able to spin and slash and smear and all those things. And this is just so unbelievably fun to ski and lets you do all of those things. And then it's pretty darn trustworthy too,
Yeah.
especially for me. Like I had a pretty cool opportunity out there in Utah, because I skied a bunch of different stuff, but I basically ended our first day cat skiing on this, and then I started our second day on this, and I went from Bent Chetler 120 to Maverick 105, and then to Maverick 115, and it's not a Maverick 115. That ski is a beast.
Right.
But for, like, I weigh 160 pounds, and for me, like, I can ski it centered, and it's still, like, enough ski in front of me that the tip's not diving. Like, it lets me ski pretty aggressively and just, like, down the fall line without worrying about anything, which, to me, is just super cool. Chris was talking about how the shovel's a little stiffer, so it doesn't like bend as much in soft snow. I don't know that I haven't skied this ski as much as Chris Bentchetler has, but I wouldn't move my mount point back.
Would you move it forward?
I don't think so, no. Unless maybe I was buying it as like, specifically like I was gonna build a ton of backcountry jumps in a season, then maybe. But I even think I think going up to +3, I don't know. I'm having a hard time picturing a scenario where somebody wouldn't regret that.
I think that the line is the sweet spot on this new build.
I think the best spots are between the factory recommended line and the -3.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much need to go further forward than that, but it is just so much fun.
Yeah.
Bouncy.
And there's a
playful.
lot of camber.
There's a lot of, that's why it's bouncy.
It's high, yeah.
Yeah.
It really adds to that experience.
No, and it's extremely well designed in that sense, that like there's enough tip rocker that, like, we were skiing really deep snow.
Like bottomless, right? Or
yeah, I mean there was a bottom.
Right. But you weren't feeling it a whole lot?
No, depending on the exposure.
Yeah.
There were some spots that were not bottomless, but for the most part, yeah, it was pretty darn bottomless. And the way that this tip shape, the Horizon Tech, and then this long rocker, it starts this kind of porpoising, but then the cambered section like springs.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, and you can, normally I feel like it's kind of hard to do that in soft snow, to really like load up energy like through the tail of the ski kind of, because there's not much to push against, like ollieing.
Yeah.
But you can do that in really deep snow on this ski, which is super cool.
Yeah, and think about how much harder it would be on that Sender Free 118 or something.
Yeah.
To
like manipulate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different experience. That Rosganol is going to make just those nice, cleaner, smoother, faster turns, but you're definitely not going to get the same type of action as you will out of this 120.
No, it's pretty cool how they can make it feel as dynamic as it does when you're skiing really deep snow. it makes you feel like you're on a park ski
Yeah.
in 3 feet of powder, which is like, there aren't too many skis that achieve that. I suppose there aren't too many that try to, but that's kind of what makes this unique.
Yeah, it is a specific subset of skiers and applications for sure.
Yeah.
And then like we were just talking about that Solomon QSTX in
Well,
our
I was-
office, and just
Great segue, because I was going to ask how you felt on this compared to a QSTX. 'Cause
Yeah,
they're
I mean-
very close in width
but I get along better with that more directional nature.
with the
and,
X.
and they have a very similar kind of energy to them.
Yeah,
You know, where you can get that snap and pop out of them.
yeah,
The X is more built into the construction,
yeah.
whereas this is more built into the
shape.
camber.
Yeah,
So it's a little bit different in that regard, but I mean, I get along better with more directional or heavier skis like that Sender Free,
yeah,
you know, for the weight and the heft.
yeah.
And then I like if they're going to be lighter, I like them to be more directional. I had Core 117 as
Sure.
well.
Yeah, you like that ski a lot.
Is right there as well. So it's stuff like that for heavier skiers like me, I personally prefer.
Yeah,
But certainly didn't take away from me having a nice time on this thing here in Vermont.
if somebody put a QSTX and a Bent Chetler 120 on the wall, it's fun that we're comparing sister companies.
Sure.
See, we're taking care of you, Amer Sports. Doesn't matter which you choose. Well, it probably does. Now I'm probably making somebody mad. But no, if those were my two choices for a powder day, it would be really hard for me to choose between them because I absolutely love both skis, but I would end up skiing differently.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, it's a total stylistic difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be hard for me to choose this over the 116, but
Yeah, that makes sense to me. But I would venture a guess that if somebody forced you to ski this on a powder day, you would not be disappointed.
no, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah. Nor should you.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't think I have much else to say. It's a freestyle powder ski. It's a twin tip powder ski.
Yeah. And it's really fun that like you got that opportunity to, if you talk to the person whose name is on the ski, you're going to get
Yeah.
a very nice, very direct perspective.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really cool that you were able to do that.
It's also really cool to watch him ski it. Cuz he's a phenomenal skier.
Yeah.
He's also like pretty big and tall.
Yeah.
You know, he's like powerful, strong guy, but like incredible talent, incredibly balanced and like really quick and agile. It's like if you skied like me,
Right.
you know, or like I'm giving myself way too much credit because I don't ski like Chris Bentchetler, but that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah.
And just like watching the things that he can do on this ski, like nose butter, just like random nose butter 360s in super deep snow, or like popping little 360s off wind lips or whatever. It just like, it's so cool how seamless the relationship is between Chris Bentchetler
Yeah.
and the Bent Chetler 120.
Sure.
It's obvious that it's his ski.
Yeah. And like, part of me wants to say, lucky guy, but the other part of me is like, nope, he worked hard to get to this point.
Talented guy
Like,
that deserves.
Talented guy,
yeah.
worked hard, like
Yeah.
deserves every inch of it. So
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it's really cool. This is also his art.
Yeah.
I feel like,
If you didn't know that.
huh? If you didn't know that, yeah. I feel like most people know that at this point, but he's a very talented artist. I don't think I mentioned this at all in that Utah recap video, but another thing that was cool hanging out with Chris Bentchetler for a few days is he was constantly like pulling out a sketchbook.
Just in his spare time.
Yeah, like we would
Yeah.
all be like sitting in the yurts after skiing and like having beers and chit-chatting, and he would just be drawing.
How bohemian.
I just thought it was really cool. You know, it's like, it's true.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he just has an internet personality or like portrays himself
Right.
in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like he's a really creative, really interesting, and really thoughtful guy too. So check out his ski.
Definitely.
You might like it. Let us know if you have any questions. It is really interesting. It's very unique. If there's other powder skis that you want us to compare it to, just let us know. and I'd be happy to do so.
Yep, for sure.
So yeah, let us know if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, everybody, I'm here with the man himself, Chris Bentchetler. We both happen to be skiing on your new 120s.
Yes, we do.
And why don't you just give us a quick update on what's changed?
Well, the biggest change is the focus that Atomic's taken on all of the environmental side of the ski, just the reduction
Sure.
in the eco side. So we've changed the wood core, which less fiberglass, more wood.
Yep.
Again, so it changed the flex pattern a little bit, and which we were just talking about
Yep.
before we turned the camera on. I've always mounted at factory line. I know I get asked that a lot, and we're mounted here today too. It is extremely deep today, and with the new wood core profile, I think I'm gonna start trying them 1 or 2 lines back from the factory line.
Yeah, just because you don't get that flex out of the tip
Yeah,
as
exactly.
much.
They're just a bit more
Yeah.
stable underfoot, and it progresses into the tip a bit more.
Totally.
And we have changed the Horizon Tech as well, which is a new tip design and also a little lighter weight. So the blend with the wood and the lighter weight tip kind of gives it just a slightly different feel. It gives it a little stiffer feel. I know that was a lot of people's feedback, was it was almost a little too soft. So just by being more environmentally conscious, it kind of headed us in that direction naturally,
Sure.
which is cool.
Yeah, and like, it's stiffer, sure.
Yep.
But I wouldn't want people to get the wrong impression.
No,
'cause
it's
still
still a
like
soft ski.
ultra playful,
Yeah, totally,
like
totally.
super energetic,
Yep.
super poppy and snappy.
Yep.
Just super fun to like bounce around on stuff.
Yep. And the ski has just always been an extension of me and the way I like to ski, and
Yeah.
still very much is. So yes, that is a great point. We're talking minute
Right.
percentages here.
Right.
but-
I always
but-
feel like it's worth pointing that out.
No,
Like
it
if
is.
you
It's
like
good.
bring up that a ski is stiffer, like we're talking like marginal differences
Yeah,
here.
yeah, of
but
course, of course.
it's not like, it's not like this is now a Maverick.
No.
And nor should it be.
No, because it is still the playful ski that it's always been.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's worth noting that it's enough of a minute difference that I'm going to play with some mounting positions.
Yeah,
Just
and I really like that. And what is what's
the
factory
factory
mount?
line is 3 centimeters behind the center of the ski.
Yeah.
So
Right,
and
which
it-
for most people, like what we're skiing today,
yeah.
is a handful.
Yeah,
3
totally.
back from center.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
and I've always loved the reason we put the factory line there was because of the swing weight
Yeah.
of the ski and just how it pivots and
Yeah.
how it releases and turns and everything that I like to do on a ski.
And like maintains a bit of freestyle influence.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still like to land backwards. I know not everyone does, but even butters, spins,
Yeah.
just actually wind drag when you're in the air and just swing weight of how the ski pivots and turns, whether you're on snow or in the air, makes a difference.
Totally.
So that's kind of where we landed with that mounting position in the first place. And these skis that we're on are obviously being made in the factory as we speak. So maybe that factory line will change in the future, but right now
Sure.
I'm gonna go 1 or 2 back. But yeah, I'd say just the biggest thing is that, and then we made some big changes to the 100. Those are probably the biggest changes of that.
No, the 100 sweet. We were talking about that last night. I had a chance to ski that last week, and it's just so awesome.
It is really
It's
fun.
like-
We completely changed the mold on that one, and it has all the eco
Yeah.
upgrades as well. And I don't want to start spitting out our carbon reduction.
Sure.
Exactly.
In case you-
percentages.
in case you misstate something.
Yes, exactly. Because each ski is different based on what was in the ski initially.
Yeah.
But they are all reduced, and we're making an effort, and with more wood, less fiberglass. That's an awesome way to accomplish that. And,
Totally. It definitely like changes the feel too.
Yeah, totally.
Like a little bit more supple,
Yep.
a little bit smoother.
Yep.
Like I don't want to say more robust because they're not necessarily robust,
Yeah,
but
we gotta
like
we gotta be
there's
wise with our words here.
there's something about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a touch quieter too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I mean, testing them on a day like today where every turn is a face shot is kind of the ideal scenario.
Well, it's fun for me, being based in Vermont. Like
Yep.
we've talked about that specifically with this ski plenty, where like you can kind of analyze what it's good at.
Yeah.
But how many days in Vermont
get
do we
like
get
this?
that's like you benefit from a 120?
Yeah.
You know, like we often like talk about how like the Bent 110 is kind of like the East Coast equivalent to the Bent 120.
Yeah,
So
totally.
for me, being able to ski it kind of in its natural habitat is really nice.
Yeah,
So
it is.
should we keep skiing?
I think so. We're about to the top of the lift here, but
Sweet.
thank you all for
Yeah.
watching.
Thanks,
if
Chris.
you do watch.
Someone will watch.
All right, perfect.
So, yeah,
Appreciate
you're
it.
thanking somebody.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
Sweet.